In this video, I'm gonna show you how to fix this. And we're gonna do it right now. I love my dog, but he is large, he has big claws, and I have a mailbox out here, and he doesn't like the mailman too much. So he likes to jump up on this sill. As you can see, he has completely destroyed it. Scratch this up. Not only has he taken the paint off, but he's really dug into the wood of this sill. So I'm gonna fix this. And at the same time, you can see some of the old caulking here. This is obviously very dirty from him and just life. You can see some caulking that is cracked and pulled away from the window just from expansion and contraction. So at the same time, I'll fix that. But the focus of the video is gonna be how to fix this. And there's a couple of different ways that I could go about doing it. With most of my projects, I like to talk about the different levels of doing things. And what that means is you might wanna just paint this and call it a day. It'll look better, and your dog might do this again. In my case, it is a dog that has caused this, and it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks, as you might know. You could paint this and then put like a plastic protector on there that they do sell. That is an option. You could also cut this sill out and put a whole new piece of wood in here, paint it, and it's brand new. I'm gonna do something in between, and it's something that I use a lot. You may be getting tired of seeing it, but it's Bondo wood filler. And it's just so awesome for stuff like this that I keep using it even though I'm not sponsored by Bondo. So I'm gonna repair this with Bondo, and you can do whatever you want. You wanna just paint it? You wanna replace the entire thing? It's up to you. Well, let me show you how I'm gonna do it. Step one, I'm gonna clean off all of the nose marks and all the nastiness on the window, and then down here you can see there's a lot. And all this here and the frame of the window. I just want to get all this clean because I don't want to soak the Bondo or the new painted sill in glass cleaner. So I'm just going to clean all this to start. Next step, I'm going to grab a paint scraper and get all of the loose paint off of this. I'm going to continue Coda's job. It's probably going to be a lot that comes off. I don't want to go too crazy here, although I'm going to sand this all, but I want to be careful around this edge. This side's not in bad shape, but we're going to have to rough that up a little bit. That'll be the next step. Now I'm going to cut out some of this old caulking. So we're going to put some new in there. There we go. And in this corner right here, I never liked how they made these replacement windows with this little tab right here. It's just like from the factory. So I'm gonna chisel that off, make that flat, so when I caulk this in, it looks nicer. I'm just gonna take a small chisel, carefully make that flat. There we go. And I'll get out any of this caulking that I can all along the edge of the window here. Good, good. Some right here. And this caulking. Get this little tab out of here too. Now I have a nice square corner. I could probably try and scrape some of this paint and caulking off of here. Kind of like that. I'm not gonna go too crazy with that, but I'll do a little bit. All right, now I'm gonna take some 80 grit sandpaper, and I just wanna rough this surface up, mostly where all the paint is, and wherever I wanna use the Bondo. I think I'm gonna skim this entire thing because there are little checks in here, little divots. Like this right here is a scrape. So that's an indentation. So that's probably just gonna do this entire sill. So I'll take my 80 grit. I just wanna try and rough it up so that the Bondo will stick better. This will take a lot of the other paint off that I missed with the scraper. Be careful on the edge here. Now let's talk a little bit about Bondo. You can use whatever you want. If you find something different that works better, or if it's just your preference, that's fine. The process is gonna be pretty similar. This is Bondo wood filler. I have actually used the regular Bondo. It's made for like automotive repairs, dents and dings and whatever. And it actually works good for wood, but they came out with this a couple years ago and they say that it is paintable and stainable. The only thing is when you mix this up, don't put in too much of the hardener. This is a 2-part process or product. This is the hardener and it's actually green. It used to be red, which made this look more like wood, but just follow the directions on the can as to how much of this you put in so you can stain it. If you're painting it, it's fine to put a little more in this in. It'll just have less of a working time, but the color won't look as much like wood as if you follow the directions. So I have a piece of plywood here and I wrapped it with plastic. It's a good idea to wrap it with plastic so that the wood doesn't absorb the mix. You get a nice even mix. Now open this up and you're gonna wanna open a window because the stuff smells a little bit. Gloves might be a good idea. I'm gonna try and be careful. So this can be watery if it's stored for a while, so you're gonna wanna mix it up a little bit. And only mix up as much as you think you're gonna need because the working time is about 3 to 5 minutes. You don't wanna mix up too much and have it start hardening on you. As per the directions, you can take out about a 3-inch diameter by 1/2-inch thick clump of this stuff, and then you can run a bead of hardener 3 inches over this thing, and that is the proper mix. That looks about 3 inches by 1/2 inch. Is that gonna be enough? I think that's gonna be enough. So that's what we'll work with. Just wanna try and have this not be a mess. So I have a small putty knife and I have a nice big putty knife. I'll add my hardener, but first I'm gonna mix it up a little bit in here because this gets watery as well. Okay, and I will add a strip. Oh, sorry, this is blue, not green. And now what I want to do is just kind of knead it or fold it like this and try and get a nice uniform mix, a nice even color. You see the Bondo will turn green. That's where my head was at. I'm gonna do this for about a minute or two until it's mixed nice and even. And then we're gonna want to apply it right away. Now I'm gonna live on the edge because I'm not gonna tape this window, but you definitely can if you want to. I'm just gonna be careful and then clean it up afterwards. So I'm gonna take my Bondo and start applying it nice and even over this entire sill. Put a drop cloth down too, like I didn't do, if you want. Now we're just gonna try and spread this out even. You will be sanding this entire thing, but you don't want to sand too much, so try and get it nice and even. from the start. I'm gonna try and kind of roll this around any of the damaged front of the sill. Trying to work quickly, but carefully. Okay, now smooth it if we can. Get some hardened stuff on my knife or something, because it's making these lines. So a nice clean new knife would be a good idea. That's okay. Throw that nice and even. Caulking will take care of some of the up close stuff. Sorry about the traffic. I gotta leave the window open because it stinks. It's gonna definitely look worse before it looks better. Okay, that doesn't look too bad, in my opinion. So I'm gonna let that cure. It'll probably take about 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And before I let it cure completely, I'm gonna check back in about 10 minutes so I can shape it. I'll show you exactly what that means in about 10 minutes. Okay, it's been about 10 minutes, and this is just a little tacky. We can start shaping it a little bit. And I like to use a chisel, and I actually prefer a dull chisel, because if it's too sharp, I might cause more damage than I want to. So I'm just gonna take this, and while it's still a little tacky, not fully cured, I'm gonna scrape off any of this stuff like here, where it's on this paint, and then I'm gonna start to shape these high spots. So I'll take my chisel and just kind of carefully do something like that to get this stuff off. You can see why I roughed it up, because it doesn't stick to paint that well. I'm not gonna go too crazy because I can sand it a little bit. I'm gonna be repainting this anyways, but that got pretty much all of it off. And then that's why I wasn't too concerned about the window, because with taping it, because I can just kind of scrape it a little bit like this without marking it up. And then these high spots here, I can just drag my chisel across it like this. This is just gonna make it easier when I go to sand it. It'll be a lot less work. Just get these high spots off. Kind of like that. I can just do that wherever I see fit. It almost has like a rubbery texture at this point. That's when you'll know it's good to do this. That's coming right off the paint too. Oh, I didn't sand there. That's okay. That's in good shape. You can also try going this way with the chisel. Sometimes it digs in a little too much though, so you just gotta be careful. Just gonna try and maintain the shape of this round edge. You can see this is all jagged. So if I run my chisel over like this, carefully, it takes a lot of that off, but the Bondo is gonna fill in any of those scratches on the front and stay in there. Get it to look something like this. I could have used a little more, but that's okay. And it depends on how perfect you want this too. So you can definitely do a second, third coat, make it perfect. Get this off of here. The other thing about using tape on something like this is when you go to peel it off, you might mess this up a little bit. So since I'm going to be caulking this in, I'm not too concerned with it. And it's pretty much all gone now. All right, now we can let that cure completely. Probably another 20, 30 minutes. Okay, it's been about 20 minutes and this looks okay. You can see right here there's like some divots, and I could definitely do a second coat here. It all depends on how perfect you want this finish. I'm gonna try and get away with just doing one coat. I'll just sand this all out. I'm gonna use this. This is a corner cat Ryobi. You can use whatever you want. This will get nice and close in over here to these corners. This is 120 grit. Just gonna try and sand this, make it smooth, and I'm just gonna be careful on the edge here, try and get that same round edge that was there before. And I'm also gonna run the vacuum at the same time to try and eliminate some of the dust. Also a good idea to wear a mask while you're doing this. You don't wanna breathe this stuff in. So all I'm doing is running this flat along the top. I'm not worrying about this edge yet. And just trying to make this completely flat and smooth. It's coming out pretty good. I just gotta be careful and get tighter in the corners and the edges. I lift up like this just to try and dig in there without messing this up. And you can see over here, I took most of the Bondo off, but you can see anywhere there was a scratch or a dip, that's all filled in, and this is totally smooth. So I just got to get in here a little more. I might take my chisel and try and get some of this out of here and get nice and close with the sander. There's a little hump here in the Bondo. Let's try to get that off. Scrape it down with my chisel, again, just to make sanding easier. And then get all these high spots in the corner. There we go. Let's pretty much take this all down. Do the same thing over here. Just a little much. Try not to dig in too much. Yeah, it's just way too much Bondo over here. Okay, paint's coming right off there. Maybe that's what I needed. Okay, now we're down to bare wood there. I can sand this back, make this even. Okay, so this might look terrible now, but this is great. This is nice and flat and smooth. This is filling in all of the gouges. There's some paint here, but this is nice and smooth. So there's different layers. There's the bare wood paint, then Bondo. This filled in the dip here. This basically is a whole new coat right over this. And then over here, it's just filling in some of these gouges. We could do another coat, but you know, it's not gonna be absolutely perfect, but it's gonna be pretty close. And on the front here, I'm just gonna be real careful and sand this out to try and get a nice smooth round over. I'm just gonna do this by hand. Again, 120, just so I don't dig into it and make it look awful. Nice and easy. Just kind of rolling the sandpaper. If you want to get a router and rerouter this, you can do that. But not necessary. Get some of this that spilled over to the trim. Shouldn't have to repaint this. Should get it off. Okay. I'm basically just running my hand down here, seeing how smooth it is. There's obvious spots like this. There's a big dent right here that I'm not going to worry too much about. That looks pretty good. Filled in a lot of those scratches. That's pretty round. I think we're good. We'll clean this up and we'll prime it. I'm gonna try try and get up as much dust as you can. I'm going to take a tack cloth to clean up any of this dust. I am going to use this Zinsser cover stain oil-based primer. Stuff works great. Just do a thin coat on this sill with my throwaway chip brush. I'm going to do the primer before I caulk this in. The caulking will stick to the primer better. I'm going to try not to have to paint this, just the sill. Put this on real thin so I don't get crazy brush strokes. Try to spread this out. I am going to sand it before I actually paint it too, so. All right, so we'll let that dry for, you're supposed to let it dry for about 2 hours. I think in about an hour, I can sand it out and do some caulking and paint, and I should be fine. This is dry. I'm gonna take a sanding block. This is probably about 120 as well. And I'm gonna sand this, try and get it smooth. Get this edge here. Hit this with the tack cloth again. Caulk this in right here. Some paintable caulking. This is a semi-gloss, bright white, just like the rest of the paint in the house. I'm gonna touch up the sides too, even if just to cover that caulking, so hopefully it doesn't crack. That's why I'm going a little over to try and cover all of the caulking. First coat is dry. Do a second coat. Well, I have to say that this looks a lot better than it did before. And there's some spots like here that didn't get filled in, and you can go as crazy as you want to with this stuff. If you want to take your time and do 2 coats, even 3 coats, make it absolutely perfect, even spray it instead of brushing it so you don't have the brush strokes, all up to you. This, to me, is perfect. And if you needed to do something like this, I hope the video helped. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Before, we don't even have to try, it's always a good time. Wow, 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 wow. Wow, 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 wow. You can see some caulked cracking. What? Check?
Check's good.
Okay. Oh, you're rolling. Pause. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, what's up?
Thanks for taking the trash in, by the way.
No problem.
Okay. What a guy. Once I get it, Lauren, it's gonna be cool. Told ya. No, no. I made a hole. Wish I was better at painting. No, I don't, because then I'd have to do it more. Boy, it sure does make everything look so much better, though, doesn't it?
Sorry, what was that?
I know what you're trying to do, Lauren. I'm trying to fill this crack in. So basically, I'm trying to fill my crack in.